Picture this. Behind the shimmering facade of old Hollywood glamour, there lurked secrets so big, so scandalous, that entire careers and lives were built on keeping them buried. We're not talking about affairs, divorces, or a wild night at Ciro's. We're talking about the children, the secret heirs of Hollywood royalty, conceived in shadows and erased from the spotlight. What happens when the biggest stars in the world go to war against their own bloodline? Stick around, because the truth behind Tinseltown's invisible offspring is about to shatter some golden illusions. Judy Lewis. Let's start with the ultimate Hollywood cover-up. Loretta Young and Clark Gable. Two names that dripped class, scandal, and Oscar-winning charm. In 1935, during the making of Call of the Wild, these two screen icons shared a brief, electrifying affair. The result? Not just tabloid fodder, but a full-blown existential crisis. Because when Loretta found herself pregnant, she was faced with a choice: risk her career, reputation, and Catholic standing, or vanish from public life and return as if nothing had happened. So, what did she do? Loretta Young disappeared from the Hollywood circuit, concocting a story about illness while secretly giving birth to her daughter Judy. When she resurfaced, baby in tow, she told the world she had adopted a little girl in need. In reality, she had engineered a plot twist worthy of a noir classic. Loretta became both mother and supposed savior, raising her own child under a cloud of secrecy so dense even Judy grew up believing the lie. Clark Gable, the king of Hollywood, kept silent. He was married, his image was everything, and there was no room in the narrative for a love child with a starlet. As for Judy, she grew up with a gnawing sense of otherness. People whispered about her striking resemblance to Gable, right down to those legendary ears and chin. But the truth was off-limits. A family ghost story told in coded glances and unspoken rules. It wasn't until Judy was 31, after a lifetime of rumors and questions, that she confronted Loretta and got the confession that turned her world upside down. Imagine living 3 decades as the adopted child of Hollywood's good girl, only to discover you're the living, breathing evidence of the biggest off-screen scandal in Golden Age history. For Judy, the revelation was both a bombshell and a liberation, a bittersweet ticket out of the shadows. When Loretta Young's authorized biography finally spilled the secret after her death in 2000, the public gasped. But for Judy, the damage was already done. She'd been silenced for a lifetime, erased from both parents' public stories. Hollywood, of course, moved on, never quite comfortable acknowledging the price of its own myths. If you think that's cold, just wait. Judy's story is only the first act in a saga where fame and family loyalty are locked in a never-ending battle, and the children are always the casualties. Marlon Brando's hidden heirs. If you think Marlon Brando was only a maverick on screen, buckle up. The man who redefined acting in A Streetcar Named Desire and on the waterfront was just as chaotic off-camera, especially when it came to his love life. Brando collected romances, affairs, and broken hearts with the same reckless intensity he brought to every role. But what he kept most fiercely hidden: the children born from these wild, unpredictable liaisons. After Brando's death in 2004, Hollywood was rocked by a messy, public estate battle. Suddenly, out of the woodwork came not one, not two, but 3 love children, each with a different mother, each quietly erased from Brando's public persona for decades. First up, Moco Castanbrando, born in 1961 to legendary actress Rita Moreno, Brando's on-again, off-again soulmate, whose own life was a firestorm of heartbreak and resilience. Their passion was Hollywood's worst-kept secret. Their child, one of its best. Next, there's Rebecca Brando, born in 1966, to Cristina Maria Ruiz, Brando's Guatemalan housekeeper. For years, Rebecca lived outside the Hollywood bubble, her lineage whispered about, but never confirmed, her very existence a legal and emotional chess piece when Brando's fortune came up for grabs. The pattern repeats with Nina Priscilla Brando, born in 1989 to another domestic worker, Maria Cristina Gutierrez. Again, secrecy, silence, and the ever-present threat of scandal looming over every family gathering. For Marlon, secrecy wasn't just personal, it was professional. He crafted personas, both on and off screen, hiding as much as he revealed. The Hollywood machine gladly went along, running interference, threatening tabloid silence, and making sure the Godfather's true family tree stayed as tangled and impenetrable as a jungle. But when Brando died, the gloves came off. Lawyers circled, DNA tests surfaced, and suddenly the invisible children became public heirs, each with a legitimate stake in Brando's legacy, each with a story of growing up in the shadow of one of the world's most mercurial men. For years, their voices were silenced by a mix of loyalty, fear, and the unbreakable code of Hollywood discretion. It's a wild truth. Brando's greatest role wasn't on the silver screen, but in the decades-long performance of keeping his own blood hidden in plain sight. When the secrets finally broke, they did more than complicate a will. They forced Hollywood to reckon with the cost of protecting legends at the expense of real, flesh and blood lives. And if you think Brando's case is complicated, just wait. Tinseltown's closet is overflowing with even more skeletons, each more shocking than the last. Clint Eastwood's forgotten daughter. Clint Eastwood, legend, gunslinger, director, and the original man with no name. But when it comes to paternity, Eastwood's name is everywhere and nowhere. Forget the squint. Forget the ponchos. Eastwood's most dramatic story never played out in the Old West, but in the shadowy corridors of his real-life family tree. And if you think you know all his children, think again. Let's rewind to the 1950s. Eastwood, still years from stardom, was hustling through bit parts and theater groups, learning the ropes and making connections. Among those connections, a young woman from his amateur theater circle. Fast forward to 1954, and a baby girl, Lori Murray, is born. What happens next? She's put up for adoption. Eastwood continues his rise, cool as ever, while Lori vanishes into another family and another life. For 6 decades, the story is locked down. Lori grows up as Lori Warren, never knowing her true lineage. She's not just out of sight, out of mind. She's erased from the narrative, a living secret hidden beneath Hollywood's most famous squint. Meanwhile, Eastwood crafts an image as the rugged, solitary anti-hero. His private life a tangle of rumors, romances, and whispers about even more lost children. It's only in 2018, when Lori is 64, that the story comes crashing into the daylight. Through DNA, old letters, and a sudden, very public family acknowledgement, Lori is revealed as Eastwood's daughter, the invisible child, suddenly thrust into the celebrity orbit she'd never asked for. Imagine learning that you're not just adopted, but the biological daughter of one of Hollywood's biggest icons. Cue the plot twist music. What makes this saga sting isn't just the secrecy, it's the ripple effect. For decades, Lori's existence was a taboo, whispered about by biographers, but denied by everyone who mattered. Eastwood's family and career soared while Lori's connection was buried by time and convenience. Only after Eastwood himself was ready, after the limelight had faded just enough, did she get her name, her truth, and her place at the table. Eastwood's old-school reticence and the media's willful blindness tell us everything about classic Hollywood's approach to scandal: deny, delay, distract, and above all, protect the brand. But the ghosts don't stay buried forever, and sometimes the forgotten child rides back into town and claims her spot in the legend. Call it justice, call it overdue karma, but in Clint's story, the real Wild West was always the family drama happening off-screen. Jack Nicholson's unclaimed daughter. Jack Nicholson. Now there's a guy who never needed a mask. Or did he? The devilish grin, the rebel roles, The Oscar speeches. Nicholson was always out there, right? Except when he wasn't. Because behind the jack everyone thinks they know, there's another story. One about a child, a mother, and a promise to keep a secret that cost more than any of them bargained for. Meet Tessa Guerin. Born in 1994, Tessa is the product of a whirlwind, blink-and-you-all-miss-it affair between Nicholson and a New York waitress named Janine. Sounds simple? Not even close. From the very start, Nicholson drew a hard line. He wouldn't publicly acknowledge Tessa, wouldn't include her in the glossy family Christmas cards or the tabloid narratives. But there was more. Tessa's mother was told, "Don't tell, don't talk, don't make trouble." The message was loud and clear. In Hollywood, the kids without contracts or co-stars get written out of the script. Growing up, Tessa was in the know, but out of the loop. She knew who her father was. So did her classmates, thanks to those unmistakable eyebrows and that mischievous smile. But in every way that counted, family photos, interviews, parties, she was a ghost. Nicholson did help financially, paying for private school, but kept his distance. "I kind of equated my life to being like Orphan Annie's," Tessa later said, summing up decades of longing in one pop culture gut punch. Her story isn't just a one-off. Nicholson, ever the Hollywood outlaw, has other children he's acknowledged late, and even more rumored to exist, products of fleeting encounters in studio-era privacy. For Tessa, though, the silence was suffocating. She's described herself as collateral damage, navigating therapy, identity crises, and an ever-present sense of being the consequence nobody wanted to claim. What's the real toll? Tessa has spoken out about the emotional chaos, knowing you're the child of a legend, but forbidden to take your place in the story. It's fame by proximity, but only when convenient for the star. It's Hollywood's oldest trick: erase, edit, or silence the inconvenient truth. Then let the world move on, none the wiser. But here's the twist. Tessa's not staying silent anymore. She's telling her story, claiming her narrative, and shining a light on all the other invisible offspring still in the shadows. In Jack's world, the party always kept going. The cameras always rolled. But for Tessa, the silence was deafening. Her journey is proof that for every star in Hollywood, there's a constellation of forgotten lives orbiting just outside the spotlight, waiting for their moment to step into the frame. So, what's left after the curtain falls and the secrets spill out? Maybe it's this. The Hollywood myth is built on what you see, but its real stories are written by those you never do. These love children didn't choose the shadows. They were forced there by legends desperate to protect their golden images. Which secret surprised you most? Drop your thoughts below. Subscribe for more Hidden Hollywood, and remember, in Tinseltown, the truth always finds its light.